Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there again. Welcome to Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We are covering Traitors UK Season 2, Episodes 7 through to 9. Chris, I don't think I could like this show anymore. I mean, we love things like, obviously we started out doing Love Island, we love maths, don't we? But this is just different gravy. I absolutely love it. But Chris, where would you like to start today?
So just before we start, I totally agree. This is something completely different. We have obviously got Love Island All Stars playing, it's our bread and butter, but this is on a different level. It's fucking outstanding. Anyway, we'll start with how we finished on episode 6. So Miles is passing a drink to Diane. If she drinks it, she's basically gone. She's murdered. See you later. I wasn't sure whether we will see the end of Diane. You said at the end of the last episode, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. But I did love the way the camera was framed, Dave, when it was like she was so suspicious of Miles. And Miles is like, oh, yeah, drink. And there's a few other people drinking. And then she took it, and I thought, oh, she's gone straight away. But we get the twist from Claudia that the next morning that someone's been poisoned, they're basically murdered, and they're going to be gone, but they're not gone yet. And I thought this whole, like, will they, won't they, people like sort of saying, well, I had a drink. Who gives someone a drink? Who did this? And then the funeral thing. Honestly, Dave, I mean, that wasn't even the best part of the episode. Again, absolutely grips watching it. Love it.
I mean, I have to say this week 3 has been amazing. Every episode. And it started off so strong, didn't it? Like you say, the traitors were on the back foot. And, Miles, I don't think they actually showed Diane taking a drink. And that was what made me think, I wonder if, it'd be something else. But then you are thinking, like, Claudia does drop them in it, and I thought she, like, even if it wasn't Diane, maybe she'd pass it on to someone else and they'd drink it and end up poisoned. But the fact that they kept her alive, was a real kind of twist, wasn't it? And I would say, it's really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons with the traitors. Like, this was the catalyst, really, that set it all off. Because you're thinking, like, Diane is so kind of on it and observant, isn't she? And she was saying, I know Miles gave me a drink, and what was it? I can't remember the girl's name now. Not Ella, or it was something, wasn't it? The blonde girl. It was one of those two. But then they're going through. I mean, Chris, that looked like a weird kind of Marilyn Manson video, the way they were all dressed up in black, and you had Claudia Winkleman at the start there walking with the cane. It was like some weird gothic video. But you could see that basically as soon as this starts off, Miles is fucked. Right from the start, and you're just waiting for them all to twig. And sure enough, as soon as Paul, who started off the week, I mean, he was kind of the favourite, wasn't he? And everyone's thinking, how can no one else pick up on this? And even when someone else does pick up on it, he seems to have that silver tongue, doesn't he, to be able to get himself out of trouble. But yeah, it seemed fairly clear to me that Miles, I mean, he looked like a hitman, to be honest, because he had the old black gloves on as well, didn't he? But yeah, he was stuffed then. But you could tell he wasn't going to go down without a fight.
So what I got from it with Miles, Dave, and the whole funeral thing, and I think Jess said on Facebook that the US version was basically nothing like what we saw. And if you were claustrophobic, I'd say he reminded me of the fucking Undertaker and the wrestling. He used to put him in a casket and everything. And she was in there for quite a while when Claudia was like talking through everything and that, and that when they did the game. But you're right, once that came through and Ross realised that his mum was gone, and we got like the whole thing about who give who drinks and everything. And Miles had already said to Diane earlier on about, I give you a drink. She's like, well, I trust you. I know you're not a fake, you're not a traitor and everything. Little did she know. But that, for me, Dave, set up, at the time, the best round table moment of the whole show, because Paul did what he did with Ash he just fucking turned, didn't he? He knew that Miles was on absolute thin ice with this, and he knew that he had to react and sort of go for him, because if he didn't, all the question marks for him that were already there, and people had already mentioned all this, he had to play that game. And I honestly didn't think Paul was going to survive. But he fucking did, didn't he? By the skin of his teeth, Dave. Like, by the skin of his teeth. I mean, talk about a brilliant pantomime baddie, but the whole interaction between Miles and Paul, and I'm loving for one of them just to go, well, you're a fucking traitor as well, but they don't, did it? They just play the game. So fair play to Miles and that, for not reacting, because he could have easily just dropped him in it, but absolutely magnificent TV again. I love that whole round table of episode 7. I was messaging you and you were slightly behind. You're like, no, fuck, I haven't started. I'm like, mate, it's unbelievable. I picked it up so much, but it delivered for me. It was brilliant.
It absolutely was. And I have to say, fair play to Miles, because I was thinking, as soon as Diane wasn't dead, and she's saying to Paul, and it's the girl, isn't it, who has the ear implants? It was her, so she couldn't really hear what was being said. But when Diane said, "Oh, if it's me," then the traitor's Miles. But Paul, the traitor, is the only one with that information. And obviously Miles knows that as well. So he knows that Paul is really setting him up, because he could just keep that information because Diane isn't actually there. And I thought, Miles, you're fucked. You might as well just hold your hands up. But I thought he did really well. I thought he put up a good fight there, because he was saying that, we're all focused on the drinks, but that's exactly what the traitors would do, isn't it? They'd force the narrative of the drinks, and it could be something else. It could be a kiss. It could be something, completely different from a drink. And I thought, fair fucking play, Miles. Good on you, son. You've gone for it there. Now, it didn't save him, and then everyone was going a bit nuts. But I tell you what, when Paul and Miles were going at each other, the little fucking Kaiser Soze moment, and this just got more and more. Fucking Harry turns to Jack and whispers, "Do you think this is two traitors going at each other?" I am like, oh. It's like the end of Usual Suspects. And I have to say, Chris, slight spoiler, but, for our other podcast, The VHS Strikes Back, I have made my pick, right? And I hadn't up until last night, and I'm like, fuck this, it's time. We're going back to The Usual Suspects. We're going to rewatch that, and I'm going to see if my memory is, it's still a great movie, because all I really remember about it is the end, when you get to see that, Kevin Spacey walking off, and, he starts to do his normal walk, and you're like, holy shit. And that was the start of it for me, when I was thinking, Harry sort of plays off like he's this cheeky chappy, but actually he's a bit of a mastermind as well. And sure enough, in the next episode, you got to see the fruits of that, didn't you? Because Paul, who I don't know if there is a betting thing on it, because it's all sort of edited, so I guess the outcome's known, but Paul must have been the favourite. But Harry was having none of it, was he?
Oh, he's brilliant. So that episode ended with them recruiting somebody. Andrew comes in, and you can see Andrew, he's a big imposing bloke, and he goes to the gym, looks after himself, and he walks in, and Paul's a fucking tall lad, though, to be fair. And you can see he's like got the head down with the gown on, and he's trying to look, who the fuck are these two traitors? And he must have sussed maybe Paul because of the height, but then Harry, and honestly, he was like, what the fuck am I doing here? He even said in the video, I'm going to have to become a traitor because they're going to kill me. And he was so uncomfortable. And even Harry said, I think we've made a mistake with Andrew. I think we have made such a mistake. It didn't help that fucking Paul's dialogue was basically, you're just here to fucking make the numbers up before we can bin you off, mate. That was Paul's mistake there.
That was weird, wasn't it? I think he really fucked up there. Now, to be fair, I thought Andrew coming in was going to be a bit like Kieran in season 1, because that was Will's mistake, really, I think, bringing in Kieran, and then that's why he lost the money in the end with the old, parting gift thing. But I thought when Andrew, you could see it in his face, couldn't you? He was just completely taken aback. He didn't think either of them were traitors at all. He'd vouched for Paul several times. And I thought, oh, they've fucked up. And like you say, Paul and Harry were discussing it with themselves. But after that, I think Andrew sort of rescued it a bit. I think at breakfast, he sort of looked guilty, and I was thinking, Christ, if anyone just looks at him, you'd be able to tell he's the one recruited. But the camera's sort of designed to tell us that story, isn't it? They've edited that shot in for a reason. But yeah, he did all right. But he definitely fucked up there, Paul, by basically saying, we needed someone who's got a bit of heat on them already, so that they can be voted out. And you can see on Andrew's face, he's like, "Well, that's me then, isn't
it?" Thanks, Paul.
Well, I think coming in as being converted this late in the game, when you have been that faithful and you've been, studiously trying to look at what everyone's doing and, weed out the traitors, to suddenly be on the other side of the fence, I think that must be the hardest thing.
Yeah, I do. And I do think, and very briefly, I love the euphoria when they get a traitor, Dave. Everyone is crying, like the tension and like the emotion is people crying. It's fantastic, And I do love it when a traitor gets hugged by one of the faithfuls, and they're like, "Yeah, we got them," and it's like, "Have you really? Have you really?"
Well, sorry, when Miles went, they went nuts.
Crazy.
A solid 9 out of 10, I would say. But Chris, when they got Paul, fucking hell.
Yeah. It was amazing.
It was off the Richter scale, wasn't it? They all went absolutely bonkers, and they're like, "Harry the hero." If Harry, if you hadn't kept going at him, we'd have probably gone with Raz or someone. So yeah, I've never seen on we've watched a few of the different countries, haven't we? With wondered where I was going there. A few of the different countries with the different traitors, but I've never seen them go quite that nuts.
That was brilliant. And I think the thing was, Dave, I think in some respects Paul was quite proud of Harry, because I think Paul just got too cocky after the whole Miles thing. I think he thought, well, that's me done. They do not think I'm a fucking traitor, but they did. And Jazz again, he's fucking brilliant, Dave. And everyone looks at Jazz as if to say, and I'm all in episode 9 with him, but everyone looks at him. He's pretty much on the money with all his theories. There's only been the odd one where he's been off, but the whole...
Well, apart from saying Miles was definitely not a traitor.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I said one. I said maybe one or two, but I just like the way he breaks it all down. He really thinks about some of the things that have happened, and the way he came to the conclusion again, Paul has got to be a traitor even after Miles had gone, was brilliant. But when Harry turned on him, like I say, Paul did a great bow when he said to everyone, "I'm a traitor," and he bowed like he'd been on stage, didn't he? Like some theatre or something, or on the West End and that. He played it brilliantly. He was obviously a nice guy. It was all part of the show. And I did love his proper. He was like a Dick Dastardly type baddie, wasn't he? He wasn't anyone that you really hated, but he ended up in this situation where he had to be devious and conniving. And you need characters like that. And I'd be interested as we go into the final week. I don't know whether there's going to be any more traitors. Maybe they're going to recruit one last traitor. And I think if they do, I don't think the traitors will lose. I really don't. I think if they got 3 of them, they'll win it.
Well, I mean, sort of cutting right to the end, I do think Paul's... what I was thinking was, the old Batman 66, the Cesar Romero Joker.
Yeah.
Like that version, when he did the bow and everything. I was thinking of something like that. But at that moment, Harry's sort of saying, they're all saying now, Paul's the greatest traitor ever. Wait till they get a load of me. I think that Harry was feeling a bit put out by that, but I was thinking, Harry, you fucking crafty bastard, you're going to win this. But when I thought that, they'd messed up bringing in Andrew, and then I felt, Andrew sort of got into the role a bit more as time went on. But then they had a chance to murder or recruit again, didn't they? And they brought in Ross. Now, at the start, I'm thinking, why Ross and Diane would you hide this thing that that you're related? I don't. It seems to me like it could be more of a hindrance, than a help. But when Ross is like, I'm trying to understand, some of the different kills, like Diane, why did you get rid of Diane? And what was it Harry said? He said something about, she was getting a bit, she needed to be put in a place or something like that, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you see Ross's face is like, right, I'm going to fucking get you now.
Yeah, really? Yeah, I'm after you. It was brilliant.
And I'm thinking, oh, Harry, you literally had it in the palm of your hand there. But I think he's just fucked up royally there. So if I was Ross, I'd be trying to cozy up to Andrew and say, you start at that end of the room, I'll start at the other. Let's put it out there that Harry did know that Paul was a traitor.
And that might happen. And that might happen, Dave, because Andrew's still unsure of Harry. I think he knows he's got to play the game with him because he was there when Harry turned. When Harry turned on Paul, fucking Andrew's like, holy shit. He knows he's not safe. He knows that Harry, in some respects, Dave, now, Andrew's probably, as I'm saying out loud, the strongest traitor because he's seen the traitors turn on each other now twice. No one else knows this. We see Miles and Paul and Miles, 3 times, and then Harry and Miles. So you've got this whole thing now where they've seen the different turns on the table. You don't know who else has been a traitor. So it's absolutely, if Andrew plays it correctly, now I'm saying it out loud, I think Harry was the favourite. I don't think he is. I think it's weakened his position now. I think the newer traitors, as they come in, they become stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, even when they first recruited Andrew, and Paul was gleefully telling him how Ash was the weakest link and sort of had to go, and you see Paul. So he's not just seen it twice; he knows that they've gotten rid of. Well, I mean, Harry is the OG, I guess, but they've got rid of 3 traitors. They got rid of Ash, they got rid of Miles, they got rid of Paul. So Andrew's there thinking, well, I'm not trusting anyone.
Yeah.
So,
quite rightly,
yeah. I mean, it is interesting, isn't it? Because I think in the other seasons we've seen, the traitors do start off and they have that kind of camaraderie and they're trying to protect each other as well. But here, where it's fucking every man for himself, isn't it? It's fucking brilliant.
It's fucking brilliant. It is. I mean, I hope people listening are enjoying it as much. And if you've asked if they're outside the UK, if you've got a VPN, get on the BBC iPlayer. Season 1's there, season 2, 12 episodes. We do have a NordVPN link as well, guys, in the show notes as well, which will get you a bit of discount if you do want a VPN if you're outside the UK. The episodes are posted on Facebook as well. Chris and Dave's Reality TV, cast by our great friends over there. So if you're not sure about what to do with a VPN, get over to the Facebook page and the link to each show are pretty much on there for this whole season. So honestly, mate, I can't wait. And I'm gutted, to be honest. It's finishing this week. I know for the podcast, it's a good thing because of our workload and me being a Bella and throwing Love Island in there and really in. So I do apologise. I know that's my mistake, but I'm just going to be gutted as a show because I just think it's so good, this. And I'd love to watch it again. I really would. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. And just some of the other characters. Oh, well, so the last one to go is obviously Charlotte. So again, just for no other reason than someone's got a crap theory and then it just gathers momentum. She's picked out every single traitor and, seems to be working things out. And, she'd been very much Team Paul, hadn't she, for a number of the episodes. And then, she was one of the ones who was like, no, something's not right. And so she'd voted for Paul. But then, in the next one, she ends up banished. And so I still find it amusing the way you see this human condition play out where there's a bit of momentum and then everyone gets like a germ of an idea in their head and it just grows and grows and grows. And so I do you think the traitors are going to win? I mean, there's a big ratio of traitors now, isn't there?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, Dave, the UK season, I think we said at the start, was one of the only seasons where the actual faithfuls have won. Because they've got to suss out who the traitor is out of them final 4. And if there's one traitor left, the traitors win. The traitor wins whoever's left. So I think the odds now having watched this unravel, because the first season we were unsure. I think the Traitors have got a very, very good chance. I'd say it's 70-30 at the moment. I know it sounds silly, but I really do. I think they're in such a strong position.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think I said to you, didn't I? When I watched, I think it was the US season, and the Traitor wins at the end. Honestly, I thought it'd be brilliant, but it left me with such an empty feeling. I mean, ultimately, it's a game. It could be red and blue, or it doesn't really matter. But I didn't expect it. But that feeling of just like, oh. Well, that's a bit crap, isn't it? So, no, I don't know. I am still rooting for the faithfuls, to be honest, but I don't hold out much hope. I mean, who's a bit of a wild card here is Zach. And I honestly feel like what changed was Harry's little whisper to Zach about Paul, and whether there's two traitors going at each other. So Zach is trying to work things out, you can see, but he does completely get the wrong end of the stick sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think he can convince people. So it's going to be interesting what happens with him, I think.
Oh, mate, I can't wait. Absolutely brilliant. So thank you again for indulging us with this, everyone listening. You as well, Dave, because it's a lot of watching, a lot of thinking, but this show is paid off for me. The watching is definitely worth it. If you want to email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media @cdrealitycast. As I said before, please go over to Facebook, Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. The links for the show notes are on there. If you want a VPN, NordVPN is a link that we have as an affiliate on our podcast, so it's on the notes of the show for today if you're outside the UK. As always, thank you, everyone. It's amazing. Please go up to patreon.com/cdrealitycast if you want to support us. And we want to thank everyone who supports the podcast, past and present. So the roll call of honour, maybe the second one for today, Dave, which has been amazing. This is when you hate me, Dave. But anyway, big thank you to Ken Gustafson, Luggy Lulu Green, Lauren Hempsey, Susan Deedy, Katie Libby, Joanna Nori, Chloe, Helen, Keith, Gillian, Zoe, Maggie, Megan, Cassie, Fiona, Emma, Nicola, Helen, Larissa, Amanda, Kim, Danielle, Nick, Andrea, Sims, Katja, Jesse, and Sinead. So thank you so much, guys, for all your support. Absolutely brilliant. And I hope you've liked the double bill of podcasts today. We do love covering all this stuff.
We do. It's going to be great, isn't it, when we finish off this season and then maths starts straight away. But and we'll have 4 episodes of maths and 6 episodes of Love Island each week. Yeah, brilliant. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for this. I cannot wait to find out where this goes. I'm wondering, do I hold off? Do I try and just put myself in a cave, so I can binge the 3 episodes back to back? Because I've got a feeling each episode is going to be a belter now. So it's going to be stretched out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, I just can't wait. I've just been loving it so much. But anyway, thanks very much, sir. Thanks to all our listeners out there. Thanks to all our supporters. And we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.